Hi, welcome to another Time to Change video by the Practical Disciple. I'm John Arnold, and today we're going to talk about interruptions. Now, every day I go into the day with a plan. I have my 5 high-value activities that I'm going to do before 11 o'clock. And I have kind of an intention for the day that's going to shape my overall feel for what I need to get done. But it seems like when I set that the world doesn't get the memo that I have a plan, because all this stuff starts crowding in, and I really have to work hard to get on top of the day before the day gets on top of me. Now, as we talk about interruptions, we're going to cover 3 things. We're going to look at limiting or blocking those interruptions. We're going to look at how to break the habit of just reflexively responding to them. And lastly, we're going to talk about having planned responses so that you minimize the disruption that interruptions cause. It was really funny. I was trying to shoot this video a moment ago, and I was talking about how technology has shaped our lives. There is a woman who she recently spoke at a conference, and she said that cell phones and IMing and text messages and tweeting and all those things have nurtured in us what she called continuous partial attention, where we're never really fully invested in what we're doing because we're always interruptible. And it's really hard to be truly productive or truly creative and effective if you're not able to give full attention to something. So you have to push that back. I said it was really funny that a moment ago I was trying to videotape this and I forgot to turn off my cell phone, which is one of the things that I'm going to tell you to do, and it went off right in the middle of videotaping. And so here's the first tip. You want to block out times for productivity by actually shutting off things that are going to interrupt you. I used to find that I was reflexively responding to my email because I had this little chime that would go ding when I'd get an email, and I would hear that no matter what I was doing. I oftentimes spun around to my computer, opened up my email program, and looked at what it was. Well, mentally, when you pull out of a task like that, there's been a lot of research done. It takes several minutes to shift your mind back into the task, and you lose a lot of productivity time in those few minutes, particularly if that happens 3, 4 times, 4 or 5 times when you're working on a project. So one of the first things that I did when I wanted to limit my interruptions is I went into System Preferences on my email program and I shut off my alarm. I would do the same thing. Don't have Facebook running in the background while you're working. If you really have a project that's deadlines imminent on it and you really cannot afford to be interrupted, go ahead and turn your cell phone off. Use voicemail in your office if at all possible. And if for some reason you're in a position where you really can't turn your cell phone off, at the very least, put it on vibrate and screen your calls. Glance at it and only take it if it's absolutely necessary. So you want to weed out technological interruptions by turning off things that will alarm you and not reflexively responding to them. Just because it goes off, it doesn't mean you have to respond to it. Now, one thing that I do is I set aside a block of time later in the day specifically for dealing with those things. For instance, I do not check email before 11 o'clock, and then I don't check it again until 3 o'clock. So I have 2 scheduled time frames in which I process email: 11 to lunch, 3 until I leave. And that caps the amount of time that I'll spend on that, and it also limits the disruption it causes in my day. So that's one thing you can do to limit. Create blocks and look at those things specifically at those times. Similarly, you can leave a margin in your day, let's say at 2 o'clock, where you're going to deal with anything that pops up then and be able to put it off until then. And that's where having a planned response comes in really handy. If somebody comes into your office and they say, hey, listen, can you do this for me? You're able to look at them and say, right now I'm in the middle of something. but I'll be free at 2 o'clock and I can do it then. And I do that. I take, as interruptions come in, I have responses in mind for when I'll deal with it, and then you got to be sure and write it down on your to-do list or in your planner so you don't leave that person hanging, because that's not good at all. But have those planned responses. You may say things like, I can't work on it right now, but as soon as I'm done with this task, I'll call you back. Can we talk about this at 2 o'clock? Can we talk about it tomorrow? You want to flag that you're in the middle of something, but you're willing to work on it, and pick a time when you're going to do that and set it right then and there. Otherwise, it's just going to be hanging out there as some unfinished task that you got to figure out when you're going to do. And if you start doing that regularly, it's really going to diminish the amount of interruption, or at least the disruption that the interruption causes. And some people will start to realize that you have blocks of time where you're just not available because you're working and you're intensely focused. So give that a try. Work on turning off alarms, setting aside blocks of times to not be interrupted, setting up a time to then deal with all those interruptions later. And you need to leave a margin somewhere in your day just for things that will pop up. So that's it in this video, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.